and welcome to the Creatives Get Real podcast. I'm Roben-Marie.
And I'm Sandi Keene, and these are real conversations about the creative life. Hey, Robin.
Hey, Sandi. How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I can't complain. Doing well.
Cool. Okay.
Ooh.
Huge topic that we're just going to take a little tiny piece of.
Oh, yeah.
Because, there are literally books written about this topic.
Many books.
And podcasts. And TED Talks.
And it's still confusing.
So confusing. Our topic today is...
Dun, 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 dun.
Branding.
Branding.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah. What is it? Do you need it?
Right.
How do you get it? All those things.
What do you do with it when you've got one?
What do you do with it? How do you know when you have one?
That's funny. Well, interestingly enough, this is something that I recently went through because you, as a tech wizard, helped me with my website, and I had to face branding questions for the first time, and I have to admit, it is. Every episode there's an admission.
There is. Are you guys writing these down? You need to write a book.
Of admissions?
Yeah.
I, Sandi Keene, do hereby admit, I had a hard time with it.
You did. Which surprised me.
It surprised me as well.
Yeah.
I remember you writing me some emails going, I'm still looking for the answers to those questions. And I'm like looking away like, maybe she won't know I read this.
I cannot finish your website until I have the answers to these questions.
I know. Yeah. So I have great empathy for people who come to me and say, I need help with branding because, it can be difficult.
Yeah. And we're creatives. So I think that in our minds, we're more drawn to think, oh, it's the color of my website. It's my logo. But it's so much more than that.
It really is.
And we're going to talk a little bit about it today because, as Sandi mentioned, this is a multi-podcast kind of thing.
Right.
But we're going to talk about it more as an umbrella, an overall big picture kind of thing.
Right.
And then later on, we'll talk a little bit more
in detail
in further episodes about getting down more into the nitty-gritty of it. So when you think of branding, Sandi, what do you think of? What comes to mind?
Now that I've been through it and I'm on the other side and I made myself, I literally sat down and coached myself through it.
Did you get out the whiteboard?
Almost.
Oh, boy.
Almost, yes. I had to get serious with myself. It's like, dude, come on. Make some decisions. They seem like such huge decisions, but they're really not as big as we think they are.
And what comes to mind, and I'm going to say this now because I don't want to forget it, I think we often consider that we can't change our minds later.
Right.
Or we're stuck with it, and we're not. And that can hold people back.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
And that was part of it for me was like defining things. Like I have to truly define who I am and what's important to me. And while I know those things, because, another admission, I've admitted I am not young. So I already know those things, but defining them in words and putting it down and having to live by them was a little bit scary.
Right.
So what was the question that you asked me? Because now I've forgotten.
When you think of branding, what comes to mind? What is like, boom?
Yeah. To me, branding is your story. That's what I think of now with perspective. The umbrella of branding is just your story. Who is it that you are? What do you value? What's your mission or purpose? Which can sound scary, but it's not.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be.
And you said values, right? Because that's important. Yep.
Yeah. And then what is it that you're trying to share?
Exactly.
That's branding.
Right. And I think, too, you can look at this from different perspectives. Big corporation versus an individual artist.
Right.
So we're looking at this and talking about this from the perspective of we are our brand.
Yes.
We are Sandi Keene, Roben-Marie. We are the brand of of our business or our hobby. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a business to have a brand.
No, you
because
don't.
if you got a presence, then you would need a brand or have a brand. When I think of branding, lots of things come to mind just because I think tech side of things, I think graphics, I think colors, I think a lot of things. But I also, this was big for me when I was redoing my website, was the idea that how do I want people to feel when they are, first of all, in my presence as a person, in live in person,
Right.
or when they come to my website or they come to my Instagram feed, what kind of feeling do I want them to have? What's their first impression? And does my story and does the rest of it, as it all kind of comes together, validate that? Does it back it up?
Exactly.
It's cohesive. It's not crazy. Over here on this side, I've got this going on, and over here, I got that going on. It's a consistency as well throughout. Yeah, that's kind of what I think of.
So consistent messaging throughout.
Yeah.
Which is your story, you know,
Right.
and what is important to you. Yeah. So you said something. Let's talk about this. Do you think that a hobbyist needs a brand? Do all hobbyists need a brand? When does a hobbyist need a brand?
Yeah. I'm inclined to say yes.
Okay.
Because, one, you don't know what the future holds. What if you wanted to move forward into doing more with your hobby? But even still, if you're sharing online and you have a message and you have a store, which we all do, you want to have some consistency. First of all, it's going to help you. You're not going to be so confused, and it will be a lot easier for you to discover and to know what you should be sharing and what to put out there, because you're going to understand who you're speaking to.
Right.
You're going to understand, and I think it just makes more sense.
Okay.
Than to kind of be all over the place. But that's just my opinion. How about you?
I think that at a certain point, you need a brand. If you're sharing your art and you don't, let's say you have a career, you're a lawyer, you're a hairdresser, you're whatever you are.
Yep.
And you know that art is just for your release and your creative spark. Maybe you don't need a brand.
Okay, good point.
So, yeah, I'd be okay with that person saying I don't need it. And I would agree with them. Okay, yeah, you're right. You don't. You're sharing your art for the fun of it, for the love of it, for the joy of it. And that's where it ends. You already have a career. You're not looking for a business. Okay, good enough. If you're a hobbyist, in the back of your head, you're thinking, wow, I would really like to. That's when it's different.
That's right. Because just maybe down the road.
Yeah. Yep. If you have a dream, whether you've said it or not, and a lot of times you're scared to say it.
That's right.
It's like, I don't want to say that I would like to teach classes or I would love a product line.
Right.
You don't want to say that because then you have to deal with what that means to you. But if you have that, I say yes. You do need a brand. So branding and online personality, is there a difference? What do you think?
I do, because I think that an online personality is so different than when you think corporate. Like, okay, I think of Boeing Airlines. I don't think of an individual personal story. I just see a corporation. I know when I see Boeing, I know it's Boeing. I know what they do. I know there's consistency there, but I don't get any warm, fuzzy feelings about them. I just don't. But an individual person, you're getting to know them.
Right.
And understanding their values and their purpose and their mission. And I feel like it's definitely different in that way.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. If you go to Nike.
Oh gosh, please don't talk about Nike.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was.
Oh no, there's this big controversy going on right now about them.
Oh yes,
No,
you're right.
okay.
I do. Okay, let me pick another corporation. Target.
Woohoo!
Is there a controversy about Target?
No.
Is there a corporation that doesn't have some sort of controversy?
Probably not.
No. So you're not safe no matter what I said. I was wrong.
Did I just accidentally put something in the box that should have stayed out of the box?
Maybe.
You need to listen to episode 10 to know what we're talking about.
Maybe I did it. I don't know. Target would be different than going to, let's say, your feed.
Yes.
Very different story.
But they've got really good branding, though. I think compared to Boeing, which is definitely more corporate and kind of impersonal. Mm-hmm. But Target, on the other hand, I feel like they do a nice job in kind of, you know them, you know who they are. But there's other companies that I think do a good job in pulling in stories about employees and pulling in things about, I know one thing that everybody knows Anthropologie. Right. Very unique, great style, very consistent branding, but they also pull employees in local stores and put them in their Instagram feed, and they have them model. They share stories about them.
That's so smart.
It's very, very different than a cold type of corporation or company. Right. And I love that because I already like their brand. I love their style. It's very artsy and creative. But then when you pull those things into it, that's like a major win, I think.
Yeah, it makes it much more personal.
Yes.
So they're straddling that line between corporate and personal, which is way smart. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about artists and hobbyists, and where do they start? Let's say that they're really thinking about becoming a business, and they've heard that word branding, and they know that it's important. They don't fully understand it, because who does until you've been through it?
Right.
What do you think about where do you start?
I think that you start with an exercise in determining what are your values, because I think that's really important, because things build on that. Mm-hmm. What are your values? And I don't know if it's necessarily mission or purpose. I think they're both kind of similar, the same. Yeah, synonymous. Where it's like, okay, what is it that I'm doing? Who is it that I'm speaking to? Because I want to attract my people. I want to attract my audience. And so I need to find what is that before I can then put together whatever that is going to look like. What are my values? Therefore, what are those stories, and how do I relate my life and my stories into speaking to, it's like sharing, and I've shared this in various ways about how art for me was crucial, because as I grew up in a military family, we moved around all the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was sort of, I had my hobbies and my crafts, and I always had that something to do that made me feel good, because I liked being creative. And no matter where I was at, it was kind of like my friend, security blanket for sure. Yeah. Well, if I were, doing something different, that might not be a story I'd want to share, but that's an important story. It's part of my brand. It's part of who I am in this world of sharing art, and, why I even got started. So without understanding my values and my purpose and who I'm speaking to, it would be very difficult to figure out, what am I going to share? What are my stories? What is relevant and important for my audience to hear? Right.
I think you brought up such an important point, and that is the difference between building an audience and building your audience.
Yes.
That's so different, because I think at least for me and many other people that I've talked to, your goal when you're first starting is to build an audience. And then you begin to understand that it's not about, this large number of followers, because if they aren't your people... Yeah.
Right.
It's not really of any value.
No, that's right.
It's finding your audience. And you can't find your audience until you know who you are.
That's right.
Because what is important to you, and those are the kind of people that you're going to attract.
That's right. And I think, too, of artists that I really admire, or I really like their work, but I don't necessarily read their blogs much anymore, or maybe go to their feeds or whatever, because they're not speaking to me anymore. Whether it's through their words in their captions or their art or whatever it is, I realize, I guess I'm not their people. You just know. And I've even gone and been like, I really, really, really want to follow this person. I really like what they're doing, but I just can't connect with them. Right. And that's okay, because there's going to be people that feel that way about me too. They're not going to connect, and that's okay, because I'm not really speaking to them.
Right.
And makes it so much easier when you know that, because it's so exhausting trying to speak to everybody. And you're not going to be able to do it anyway.
Yeah, you can't do that. But we try. At the beginning,
because we don't know.
Because we don't know better.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Because your audience, the people who connect with you, who have similar values, have similar purpose, they're the people who, when you want to do something or you want to sell a product or teach a class or share information, they're the ones that are interested.
That's right.
The others aren't, and they will most likely leave you. And it's our jobs to realize that this is not a rejection. This is just clearing out the people who were never going to be a part of your group anyway.
It's like when you see the unsubscribe and you're like, oh, that hurts. But it's like, no, it's okay. Because there's those that you have unsubscribed to that you really like them, but they're just not for you anymore.
Right.
They're not for you.
It's not a fit.
It's not. That's right. That's right.
Yep. So that can be, you're right, that can be wounding. But you get to the point where you realize, I need to find my people.
And then it makes it so much easier because you are speaking to them and it's natural.
Yes.
Because you're not having to try hard. You're just being yourself, and the brand, your story, and all that just makes sense to them because that's who they're trying. You're like a beacon to them.
Right.
And they just know without a doubt, this is my people.
Right.
That makes sense. She's my people.
Yeah.
She's my people. And then those that read or follow for a short time go, yeah, I don't really connect with this person. And that's okay too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they will unfollow you and they will go and find who they do connect with. And that's what we want. Yeah.
That's right.
I really like the thought of branding as storytelling because I think that as creatives, what we do is storytelling through our art. So if we can make branding something that's already familiar, it makes it much easier to process and to deal with. And it's not so, I'm not going to answer Roben-Marie's email because she's going to ask me again to write this and I don't know what to write yet. She's trying to tie me down. That's the part that can get really hard.
Yeah.
But when you finally get to it and you decide, okay, this is just my story. Oh, okay, I can deal with that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this branding thing, it's big. It really is. And we touched on small bits of it that could be broken out into, well, their own podcast episodes and so forth. Right. But this is like the big picture part of it. And I think it's just understanding that it's not as scary as it sounds, although I'm still intimidated by it. I still second guess myself at times going, okay, I'm looking at my website, I'm looking at this, and I'm going, if somebody came here, do they understand me? Do they get a sense of who I am? And I think sometimes we're so close to it.
We're too close.
That we can't see it.
Yeah.
We don't recognize it.
Yeah, that's often a question you need to ask someone else and not yourself.
Exactly.
Go to my website or my Instagram feed. Who do you think I am? Like, what 3 words would you use to describe me after looking at that? And see if those 3 words are what you're looking for. Is that, the purpose that you're trying to put out there?
Yeah. I did that actually when I was redoing my website. I put it out there. I said, please, if you would, go check out my Instagram feed and just put in, I think it was on Facebook, maybe I did it. What 3 words come to mind? It was my current website, and or did I say go to my Instagram? I don't remember. It might have been both. And just give me 3 words. And I was pleasantly surprised that it was really, I guess I did exhibit what I wanted, what I wanted to have relayed. And so, but I'm always still considering, is this still the group I'm speaking to? And I'm challenged right now with that because I kind of have my art audience, I have my art, students and all, and I love that whole group because of love that side of what I do. Within that group are the ones who want to do more, who want to have a business, who want to have a website and all. And so they're wanting to learn that tech part, but I don't want to be talking to that whole audience about tech all the time because that's not really what they're interested in. But there is that other audience. So I almost sometimes feel like I'm split here,
Sure.
trying to figure out how to talk to each, different audience, even though I'm not talking to yoga instructors, I'm talking to artists, I'm
Right.
trying to help them. So it makes sense, but it's trying to figure out how to balance it where I'm still true to myself and it's still part of the same brand, even though it's two separate things.
Yeah.
It's challenging.
Well, you made it hard for yourself.
Yeah.
Doing two things at the same time.
I know. Ugh.
But actually, that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing it. I'm an artist. I'm an instructor. I'm a coach.
Yeah.
So do I have 3 different brands? No.
No.
Because like you said, how we started this was that as artists, our product, our brand is really us.
Yeah.
Because art is so reflective of who you are.
And this is a good point too, because when I first started, I was a business as in Paper Bag Studios, and I had started the stamp company back in 2003, 2004. And I was all about, this has to seem like a business. And so my references were always we or the shipping department. And that's fine because I wanted people to understand I was legitimate. I was a real business. Even though I didn't have this big location and all these employees, I was still legitimate. But it was very impersonal because it was very, this is the business. And then little by little, as the art became more of what I was doing, you even helped me understand that. You are the umbrella. And I'm making the shape of an umbrella now in the air. And then under that, you have your stamp company and your art classes and your art and everything you are.
Yeah, it filters through you.
Yeah. And it was really hard for me. And once I grasped that, it was like, okay, it's me, and it made it a lot easier to share and to know what to say and what not to say and how to make that happen. Yeah. So that was an eye opener for me when you presented that to me. I can still remember you drawing that on the paper and I'm like, okay, because I hadn't thought about it. Never thought about it like that before. Yeah.
Yeah. That is definitely the way I see it. When you're talking about people who do something that's so creative and it's so personal, it has to start with you.
Yep.
Not the product.
Yeah.
So you don't brand your product. You brand you. And I think that that's a big stumbling block for some people.
Yeah.
And once you get that, it makes it easier.
Yeah.
You're branding you. You're the product.
Yeah. It's a very good point. It's a good point to end on, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. You are your brand.
Yes. And your brand is you.
Excellent.
It's all you.
I don't know. That does put a little pressure now,
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, we hope that gave you some more insight into this topic that we could talk about for a long time. And we will come back to it again because it's important and we like to talk about it and help others in that department. So
it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else, Miss Sandi?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Creatives Get Real.
We sure appreciate all your support.
And you can find me at sandikeene.com and my teaching site, popupartclasses.com.
And you can find me at robenmarie.com and my classes at robenmariestudio.com.